Okay, so Elizabeth Evans, it is so great to see you here again this year at SalesComp 25. We're at a conference together. How's it going?
Oh, it's wonderful. Uh, Meeting lots of people, having some really good discussions.
It's been really fun, I
It
think.
has, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a real lively group. The reason I asked you to talk with me today is because there's a topic out there that some people think, or you're hearing, oh, it's a dead issue. Oh, there's really not much to solve for yet. But I would argue that there's a lot to solve for, and that would be around remote or virtual working.
The conversation is raging. Look at LinkedIn.
Yes, it is. Oh, yeah. Did you see that? It is raging. Like there's a lot of controversy.
Oh, yes.
There's yeah, just so much happening. So you are someone that has successfully worked virtually and remote for a very long time.
Yes.
You went from corporate into a remote environment, and I wanted to talk to you about from your experience, how do leaders and managers, kind of make it work? But even before we get into that, tell me your perspective about virtual and remote working versus in office environments.
For me personally,
Yeah, and then just in general, what your thoughts are on it. Yeah,
well, I was born to work at home.
yeah.
The pandemic was great for me. I didn't have to leave the house. I only ventured out once to get my calculator back from my office. I named it Sir Calcs a lot, and it's my emotional support calculator. And so I actually went on a weekend to go grab it. But I was really made to do that, right? And I don't. It was only until today that I actually thought about what makes me have a strong aptitude towards it. And I know we'll talk about that later, but uh, it's it is a great opportunity if you're an analyst and you have to do deep thinking where you need to be not interrupted, right? It helps that I work for an organization that really embraces that. Okay, we are fully remote, and I get 3 times a day. I have someone asking me, "Hey, can I call you?" And we use Teams. Can I call you and bounce something off of you? And it's the same thing as if they stuck their head in my door, which I know a lot of CEOs really embrace is that collaborative environment. I feel like I know these people completely well, and that we're pals and we know a lot about each other simply because we have so much interaction during the day. I don't feel a loss there at all. So my personal perspective is it's really wonderful. It's very cost effective. I think it can aid in business development because you don't have to put so much money into premises and relocating and things like that. So if you have the right kind of industry to support that, you should do it.
So what is it that leaders need to know to understand? Like, how do you make a remote and virtual environment work? So what we hear, the reason that you talked about the conversations raging, and it is, and it's almost like you will be in, we're not coming in, right? There's still a lot of that going on, and where do I want to be? For companies that can't seem to understand, like, and really embrace a path to virtual and remote working, what is it that leaders and companies do or need to do or think about to make it work?
Well, I think the big thing is to remember that if you do have a remote employee, you still have to manage them and you still have to pay attention to what drives that employee. Uh, like for me, getting an attaboy, and having people acknowledge that I've contributed something valuable is very important, right? I really thrive on that, and I work for people who do that. Um, I get nervous if I don't talk to my boss often enough, right? And so I think regularly scheduled check-ins to make sure that it's not just, oh, if I see you in the hallway, it's, I set a time to talk to you. Um, I think those are important. And really anything that you would do in an in-person environment, you should be doing virtually. You can't just set a remote employee and forget them, right? And you still have to interact with them and provide management, review their work with them, have check-ins, updates, things like that. And I see managers get really antsy because they cannot see what the person's doing. But think about it. When was the last time your manager really saw what you did, right? They, uh, So if you have check-ins where, okay, these are the projects I'm working on and this is where they stand, and you have questions, I have questions, that's really valuable no matter where you are.
Yep. So you're advanced in your career. What advice would you give people that are just like starting out, getting out of college, and companies for how they can connect and ensure that people get the advancement opportunities and the learning that they're looking for?
A couple of things. One is the company, they're saving money by having remote people. Spend some of that money on bringing them together as, on a semi-regular basis, right? Also, I would say for any employee, whether you're in-house or not, manage up effectively, all right? You don't, walk away from your desk for hours without having somebody know where you are,
Yeah.
Especially if there's an expectation that you're going to be available, right? You keep your boss alerted to things they need to know about. It's anything you would do in person, you have to do it. Just make sure you're sending emails, text messages, Teams messages, whatever it is. And so managing up is a skill I think people need no matter where they are, especially in a virtual environment. I have seen situations crater because neither one was really talking to each other, not communicating managerial expectations, and then the other person not managing up effectively.
All right. So I think that's a great segue into this question. You said that you know that you're made to work remote, and this is a good thing for you, and you do thrive in this environment. Every time I see you, you're motivated, you're energetic, you're excited about what you do, and you've never once said to me, "Oh my God, I wish I wasn't working remotely or from home." You've never really said that. Okay, so what you have put together is almost like a checklist or something that people can use to think about, am I made for this? So it might sound great to work remote, or you might think there's no way. I could never make it in a remote environment. And kind of you put together some of your thoughts of questions and considerations. Can we go through that?
Yes. Because the idea, I think, is what we talked about. Is
Yeah.
that it's risky to take a job not knowing whether you'd be suited that way. And I couldn't find a personality test on this or anything. I know I'm well suited to this because, I'm Boo Radley, right? And my husband has to actually plot to get me out.
Attractive.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'll remind everyone that Boo Radley was the hero in that book. Anyway,
Yes.
but I need to be coaxed out of the house, actually. My husband, who is always wanting to go out, he works remotely too, right? And so he's, we got to go somewhere. And I'm like, why? This is perfect. And so, but I know this about myself. And the reason I know is that that's the introvert test. How do you feel after being around a large group of people? Are you energized or are you drained?
Wow.
And so while I love seeing everyone, right, I am, curling up in the fetal position later because it's taken a lot out of me.
Yeah.
That's how I know I'm an introvert. Nobody believes it, but there I am. So that's one thing to ask is where's your energy level after being around a group of people?
Okay. Your
All right.
energy level. Yep.
When are you most productive? Are you in a quiet, controlled environment or a bustling social one? If you're young and you can still recall school, right, and your study habits, did you focus better in a library, a coffee shop, or alone at home? All right. Do you need immediate feedback? And do you like to bounce ideas off of people frequently, or do you prefer to think things through independently?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Now, I should point out, in the company I work for, you can do that bouncing thing right away with everybody. Everyone is doing that. So it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be you have to be in-house to make that happen. And then are you easily distracted? Me, I get into something, and if it's a project I'm really interested in, setting up a new database or something, the house would have to be on fire for me to leave. I'll look up and go, oh, I haven't moved for several hours. And that's the key thing, is are you easily distracted? And here's the deal, though. If you are working in an office, I find the distractions to be much greater.
Uh-huh.
And in a hybrid situation, people haven't seen you for a while. So now they're stopping by your office and there's a lot of visiting going on. And now I've got maybe 3 hours of usable work out of the day.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's funny because we work in a hybrid environment. We're 3 days in, 2 days remote. I go in 5 days because I'm a mile and a half up the road. My business partner is a mile and a half up the road. So we are working together every day. You could say we're almost remote in the office, right? Because it's just the two of us there. But it's funny because some of the days that we're very full in the office, um, Mark will poke his head in my door and say, "Is the company leaving yet?" It's like, because it gets long and we're trying to get through things. But I do find the beauty of that collaboration as well, in that learning organization. So I appreciate your feedback and the time and just that checklist that people can go through. I think it's very practical to understand, are you made for remote or not before you take that job? Because you might be very disappointed one way or the other, or you may think I'm not really suited to remote work and find out that you're delighted with the end result.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth,
It's always
that
a
we can
pleasure.
hear your voice again.
Yeah.
And we'll look forward to the next time.
Thank you.